Have you ever noticed how life's most powerful lessons often arrive disguised as our greatest challenges? Those dark moments when everything seems unbearable, those painful truths that cut deep into our hearts, ironically, these are precisely the ones with the transformative power to heal us, liberate our spirits, and guide us toward authentic happiness. There's something paradoxical about it, isn't there? Life operates in this constant ebb and flow, sometimes knocking you flat on your back, other times lifting you to unexpected heights. Yet most people prefer to cushion their reality with comforting illusions and half-truths. Why? Because confronting harsh realities head-on requires tremendous courage. It's genuinely difficult. And I certainly don't fault anyone for this tendency. Perhaps it feels easier to navigate life without facing the truths that sting so intensely they seem to pierce your very soul. But is that what you truly desire? To wander blindfolded through this mysterious journey we call existence? If your answer is no, stay with me. Today I'll share 12 life-altering truths taught by Stoic philosophers, truths we must embrace if we hope to live a genuinely fulfilling life, regardless of the obstacles we encounter. So tell me, are you prepared to confront these uncomfortable realities and discover their power to transform your existence? Let's begin. The Catalyst, a story of transformation. First, let me share a story that perfectly illustrates why accepting life's hardest truths can change everything. This is the story of Elena, a woman who, like many of us, yearned for something different. On the surface, Elena possessed everything that should have brought contentment: a prestigious position at a consulting firm, a beautiful apartment in the city center, and friends who were always available when needed. Yet beneath this seemingly perfect exterior, she felt a persistent emptiness she couldn't explain. It was as if her life, though impressive from the outside, wasn't aligned with her deeper self. To fill this void, Elena immersed herself in activities offering temporary relief. She purchased expensive items whenever anxiety tightened around her chest. She enrolled in trendy workshops and spent countless hours scrolling through social media seeking inspiration. She even organized impromptu gatherings with colleagues, anything to avoid confronting her inner solitude. While these distractions worked momentarily, by nightfall, when silence enveloped her apartment, the emptiness returned. It whispered that something vital was still missing, that her life's puzzle remained incomplete. Yet Elena couldn't identify what piece she lacked. Each morning, she rose at dawn, commuted to her office, and navigated her workday, but something fundamental felt misaligned. Some nights, she would lie awake staring at her ceiling, wondering, is this all there is to life? Yet she always managed to convince herself that everything was fine. Don't complain, Elena, she would chide herself. Many people have far less than you. One autumn afternoon, while walking through Victoria Park to clear her mind, Elena noticed an elderly gentleman sitting on a bench writing in a leather-bound journal. Intrigued, she decided to approach him. After a brief conversation, Elena learned that the man's name was Nikolai, and the journal he held wasn't ordinary. It contained the most significant wisdom he had gathered throughout his 82 years of life. Curious, Elena asked, "What's the most valuable lesson you've recorded in there?" Nikolai closed the journal, holding it with both weathered hands, and replied, "The truth, even when it cuts like a knife, is the only path to freedom. For decades, I deceived myself, claiming happiness because I possessed everything society told me I should want: a respectable career, a stable marriage, financial security. But Elena, do you know what happened? Nearly half my life passed before I admitted I wasn't truly happy, that I was trapped in a script written by someone else's expectations." He paused, looked Elena directly in the eyes, and added, "Don't allow the same fate to befall you. Life doesn't wait indefinitely. As long as you avoid the truths that make you uncomfortable, you'll remain stuck. But if you face them, if you accept them, I promise the liberation you'll discover will far outweigh any fear you're experiencing right now." That conversation left Elena reflecting for days. Finally, she gathered the courage to confront the truths she had been avoiding for years: that she despised her career path despite its prestige, that she was excessively concerned with others' perceptions, and that she had never pursued her passion for environmental conservation because she feared failure. It was in that moment of painful clarity that her genuine transformation began. And what about you? How many times have you told yourself everything is fine even though deep down you know it isn't? How many times have you avoided those difficult truths that, while painful, might hold the key to the life you truly desire? Today we'll explore 12 uncomfortable truths that, though difficult to accept, can liberate you and lead to the happiness you deserve. Are you ready to confront them? Before we dive into these 12 insights, if you're finding value in this message, I invite you to acknowledge it. Share in the comments if you're prepared to embrace the truths that will set you free, or simply write "Stoic at heart" to join our community of growth-minded individuals. Let's create a space where we can develop and strengthen each other. Now, let's begin. 1. Not everyone will accept you. The first truth you need to embrace, my friend, is this: not everyone is going to accept you, and that's perfectly acceptable. It doesn't need to be any other way. Initially, this might be difficult to digest because, naturally, no one enjoys feeling rejected. We all fear disapproval. It's a fundamental human concern. We go to extraordinary lengths to be agreeable, to conform, to meet others' expectations. But here's the harsh reality: no matter how diligently you try, there will always be someone who doesn't appreciate you, and the wisest response is to stop worrying about it. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you altered your genuine thoughts or feelings just to avoid conflict or please someone else? How many times have you concealed an aspect of yourself because you feared not fitting in? Think about that meeting where you pretended to agree with the consensus though inwardly you were screaming, "No, I completely disagree." Or that forced smile at a social gathering where everyone nodded along, and you felt compelled to follow suit. We've all experienced these situations, molding ourselves to gain acceptance. But consider this: is sacrificing your authentic self worth the approval of others? The Stoic philosopher Aurelius wrote in his personal reflections that we cannot control others' opinions, but we can control our responses to them. Living in constant preoccupation with others' thoughts is like being a vessel adrift, carried away by the currents of external expectations. However, when you focus on remaining true to yourself, you become the captain of your journey, steady in your course even when others disapprove. I recognize the difficulty. Stepping away from the crowd can feel isolating. That's why you should begin with something simple. Reflect on what you truly value in life, what matters so profoundly that you would never compromise it regardless of circumstances. Let that be your compass. Because when you're guided by your own values, you no longer require anyone else's validation. Practice saying this to yourself whenever necessary: I cannot please everyone, and that's perfectly acceptable. Initially, this might feel like an empty phrase, but gradually you'll notice how it permeates your consciousness and progressively liberates you. When you stop trying to gain universal acceptance, you free yourself. You begin attracting people who value your authentic nature, not some fabricated version designed to fit in. Your relationships become more genuine, more meaningful, and most importantly, you start living with integrity, aligned with your own values, the only ones that truly matter. And you know what's most remarkable? The right people will stand beside you without requiring you to become something you're not. Isn't that extraordinary? 2. You're not as important as you think. Brace yourself for another cold splash of reality. You're not as important as you believe, and before you take this as a personal criticism, let me explain. We all fall into the trap of thinking the world scrutinizes our every move. We imagine people analyzing each mistake, every awkward comment, every stumble, permanently storing these moments in their memory. But guess what? That only happens in our imagination. The truth is much simpler. Most people are far too preoccupied with their own concerns to focus on you. Consider this: have you ever made a mistake in front of others and then obsessed over it for hours, perhaps even days? Maybe you misspoke during a presentation or tripped on a sidewalk. How embarrassing, you thought to yourself. I always appear foolish. They must be laughing at me for days. Well, here's some reassuring news. How long do you think people actually remembered that moment? Precisely, they probably didn't even notice, or they observed it momentarily before returning to their own preoccupations. Imagine this scenario: you're at a farmer's market and accidentally stand in the wrong queue. Someone corrects you rather rudely, and you spend the remainder of the day thinking they perceived you as completely incompetent. But in reality, they probably don't even recall your face. They were caught in their own worries, which explains their impatient reaction. Or consider the time you made a mistake at work, like sending confidential information to the wrong recipient. You imagined all your colleagues gossiping about your error behind your back, but in reality, nobody cared. They were too immersed in their own responsibilities to even notice. Do you see my point? What feels like the center of your universe is merely a momentary blip that vanishes instantly for everyone else. This isn't just a comforting idea. Research from Dartmouth College, known as the spotlight effect, demonstrated that people consistently overestimate how much others notice them. We feel constantly under observation, but in reality, most people are consumed by their own experiences. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus taught that we should concentrate on what's within our control, and let me assure you, others' perceptions of you extend far beyond your influence. Do you understand what this means? It means you can release the unnecessary burden of trying to appear perfect to everyone. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Own this truth and liberate yourself, because genuine freedom begins when you stop worrying about others' opinions of you. The next time you catch yourself wondering what someone might be thinking about you, pause and ask, what's the most likely focus of their thoughts right now? More often than not, the answer relates to their own concerns, not you. And if you still need additional reassurance, remember this mantra: others' perceptions of me don't define who I am. When you accept that you're not the universe's center, you free yourself from the constant pressure of meeting non-existent expectations. You grant yourself permission to make mistakes, to be your authentic self, and to focus on what truly matters: your values, your goals, and the relationships worthy of your energy. Because ultimately, what defines you isn't how much others notice you, but how much meaning you create in your own life. 3. Life won't always be fair. Have you ever felt that life owed you something? Perhaps you believed that being compassionate, working diligently, or giving your absolute best would guarantee favorable outcomes. But then reality intervenes: someone less qualified receives the promotion, a dishonest individual achieves their objective, or your dreams, despite your relentless pursuit, always seem just beyond reach. It's challenging, I understand, but here's the truth: life won't always be fair, and the sooner you accept this reality, the stronger you'll become. Is it fair that the powerful wolf preys on the injured deer first? I can't determine if it's fair, but my friend, that's life, that's nature. All we can do is accept it. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, expressed it clearly: do not seek for events to unfold as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will flow smoothly. This teaching isn't merely about accepting reality as it exists, it's about releasing that perpetual internal struggle against what you cannot control. Because ultimately, the justice we seek in the world around us won't always align with the version we've constructed in our minds. Consider this analogy: life resembles an unexpected storm. Sometimes you're walking beneath a clear azure sky, and suddenly, raindrops begin falling, followed by thunder that shakes everything around you. You can curse the heavens, shout at the wind, and wonder why you didn't bring an umbrella, but none of that changes the fact that you're drenched. Alternatively, you can spread your arms, allow the rain to soak you completely, and learn to appreciate the water that, though cold, also nourishes the earth. Let me tell you about my friend Mikhail. Mikhail was a man with an enormous heart. He consistently assisted his friends whenever possible, worked tirelessly, and never declined someone in need. He believed wholeheartedly that if he gave his best, life would reward him accordingly. But one day, everything changed. The architecture firm where he had worked for years suddenly closed without warning, leaving him unemployed. To compound matters, many of the friends he had supported through difficult times disappeared when he needed assistance. Mikhail felt betrayed and, above all, lost. "It's not fair," he repeated continuously. After a period of reflection, Mikhail remembered something he had read from a wise philosopher named Aurelius. He realized he couldn't control what life threw at him, but he could control his response. Instead of remaining trapped in resentment, he began exploring adaptation strategies. He acquired new skills, connected with others who could offer support, and gradually started rebuilding. And you know what? It wasn't easy, but Mikhail discovered something unexpected. Adversity, though harsh, taught him more about himself than all his previous successes combined. Ultimately, he didn't find fairness in what transpired, but he found growth that strengthened him. Life, my friend, isn't a chessboard where rules remain consistently clear. Sometimes you play with pieces you didn't request on terrain you didn't select. You can lament the game's unfairness or become a more strategic player, using every piece, regardless of size, to advance forward. If you feel life has treated you unfairly, ask yourself, what can I do with what I currently possess? It might not match your hopes, but but it could become the foundation for something beyond your imagination. Injustice isn't the conclusion, it's a test that compels you to grow, find solutions, and prove to yourself that you're stronger than you realize. So next time, before you curse your fortune, remember Epictetus's words. Learn to perceive the storm as an opportunity for growth, because while justice in the world may be imperfect, your capacity to adapt and continue moving forward can become your greatest triumph. For time is your most valuable asset. It's time to face it. It's not money, it's not your vehicle, it's not your residence. Your most valuable asset is time. Have you ever felt the day simply isn't long enough to accomplish everything? Between professional responsibilities and distractions, time seems to simply evaporate. Here's the hard truth: time isn't infinite. Every minute that passes is irretrievably lost, and how you utilize it today will determine who you become tomorrow. Time, my friend, is your greatest treasure, and learning to safeguard it can transform your life. Seneca understood this thousands of years ago and left us a profound reflection. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Consider that statement. The problem isn't that days are too brief, it's how we squander our hours without realizing it. Imagine your time as a bank account. Each morning you awaken with a fixed balance of 24 hours. You cannot save what remains unspent, and by day's end, that balance disappears forever. Now ask yourself, what are you investing those hours in? Are they directed toward matters of genuine importance, or toward activities that bring you no closer to your aspirations? Let me share a personal experience. For an extended period, I felt constantly busy, yet at each day's conclusion, I realized I hadn't progressed on what truly mattered to me. My hours dissolved while browsing my phone, watching videos I wouldn't even recall the following day, or procrastinating with any available excuse. I always thought, tomorrow I'll have more energy, tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow would arrive, and nothing changed. One evening, sitting at my desk, I examined a list of projects I'd been postponing for months. It felt as if all that wasted time was weighing upon me. I decided I couldn't continue this pattern. That very night, I closed my social media applications, turned off the television, and committed to working at least 30 minutes on a personal goal that genuinely mattered. Initially it was challenging, I'll admit that. Distractions persistently beckoned, and I felt my resolve weakening. But with each passing day, I gained greater control over my time. I didn't merely make progress on my goal, that sense of purpose and ownership over my time transformed my perception of each day. And what about you? How much of your time are you surrendering to distractions that yield nothing in return? It's time to accept that your time isn't boundless, and begin making more intentional decisions. If you want to protect your time, start with 2 straightforward steps. First, learn to decline. Say no to commitments you don't value, no to activities that don't fulfill you. Every refusal of what's unimportant is an affirmation of what truly matters. Second, establish clear priorities. Ask yourself each morning, what's the most important action I can take today to move closer to the life I desire? Then do it, no excuses, no distractions. Time, like water in a river, never ceases flowing. You can't pause or preserve it for later, but you can determine where to direct its current. So don't waste it waiting for the perfect moment or allowing it to drift away amidst urgency. Remember Seneca's wisdom: time lost is never recovered. Guard your time like the treasure it represents, because when you look back, what will truly matter isn't how much time you had, but how you lived it. What will you do with the hours you've been given today? The answer lies in your hands. 5. Perfection doesn't exist. How many times have you hesitated to begin something because you doubted your ability to execute it flawlessly? That presentation you prepared but didn't dare deliver at work. That difficult conversation you mentally rehearsed 200 times but never initiated. That project you've postponed for months because you don't feel adequately prepared. We've all experienced this, convincing ourselves that perfection is the minimum acceptable standard. But here's the truth: perfection doesn't exist, and pursuing it resembles trying to capture the wind. Seneca reminded us centuries ago, if you wait for perfect conditions, you will never act. The reality is that we spend our lives awaiting that perfect moment, that magical alignment when everything proceeds exactly according to plan. But life, as you know, is neither fair nor perfect, it simply doesn't function that way. The sooner you accept this truth, my friend, the sooner you'll permit yourself to act, even imperfectly. Research conducted by Oxford University revealed that perfectionism not only delays productivity but also correlates with elevated levels of anxiety and depression. Do you understand why? When we obsess over flawlessness, we sabotage ourselves, we become paralyzed, transform into our harshest critics, and what could have been an opportunity for growth becomes an excuse for inaction. Let me share a real example. Maxim Ivanov, the award-winning filmmaker, has spoken candidly about how perfectionism consumed him early in his career. For years, he declined projects because he believed he wasn't sufficiently prepared or talented enough. This relentless pursuit of perfection nearly drove him to abandon filmmaking entirely. But everything changed when he accepted that he didn't need perfection, he simply needed authenticity. That decision not only enabled him to move forward but also helped him create unforgettable works that inspired millions. Do you see it now? Perfection is a trap. It doesn't merely prevent action, it keeps you from becoming your best self. Imagine you're a painter facing a blank canvas. If you wait for the perfect colors, ideal lighting, and flawless brushstroke, you'll never make that initial mark. But if you begin, even with crooked lines and mismatched colors, the painting starts taking shape. Life operates similarly. It's not about achieving perfection from the outset. It's about beginning, learning, and improving throughout the journey. If you wish to free yourself from perfectionism's chains, try this practical approach. Redefine what success means to you. Ask yourself, is it more important to do it perfectly, or simply to do it? You'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish when you shift focus from perfection to action. Also, practice self-compassion. Don't condemn yourself for mistakes, view them as integral to the process. The next time something doesn't proceed as planned, ask yourself, what have I learned from this? Instead of self-punishment, use those lessons as growth tools. Perfection is a mirage, an unattainable ideal that steals our present moments. When you accept that perfection doesn't exist, you grant yourself permission to be human, to attempt, to fail, and to rise again. And here's the interesting paradox. When you stop chasing perfection, you begin discovering beauty in imperfection. So release the need for flawlessness and embrace the opportunity to act right here, right now. Because perfection doesn't exist, but your ability to move forward does. What are you waiting for? Begin today. 6. Pain is necessary. This might sound contentious, but hear me out. Pain is necessary. It's not something we appreciate. Most of us do everything possible to avoid it. We distract ourselves, bury it, pretend it doesn't exist. But here's the truth. Without pain, there's no growth. Pain, though uncomfortable, serves a purpose. It's the teacher delivering life's deepest lessons. Psychologist Jung expressed it this way: emotional pain doesn't dissipate until you've learned what it's intended to teach you. It's a powerful statement because it forces us to view pain not as an adversary but as a messenger. If we ignore it, if we deny it, it only returns stronger, repeatedly, until we finally confront what we need to learn. Let me ask you something. Have you ever experienced a loss, failure, or disappointment that seemed insurmountable? Reflect on that moment and how it affected you. Did you use the pain for reflection, change, and growth, or did you attempt to bury it, seek distractions, or deny its existence, pretending it didn't occur? Most choose the latter because, let's be honest, confronting pain requires tremendous courage. But here's the key: ignoring it doesn't eliminate it, it merely postpones it, allowing it to grow and strike even harder upon return. Pain resembles a seed buried underground. Initially, it's nothing but darkness, pressure, and cold. But over time, if we permit it to work, that seed transforms into something else: strong roots, a sturdy trunk, even blossoms. Without that initial discomfort, without that pressure, growth wouldn't happen. The Stoics understood better than most the value of pain as a transformation tool. Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, lived amidst countless challenges, wars, political betrayals, and the loss of several children. Despite this, he left us a powerful lesson: the fire burning within me transforms every obstacle into fuel. Everything affecting me strengthens me. What a remarkable teaching. For Aurelius, pain wasn't something to avoid, it was something to utilize. It sharpened his mind, his character, his spirit. His life wasn't easy, but through his struggles, he developed an inner strength that made him one of history's most admired leaders. And what about you? What are you doing with your pain? Are you using it as fuel for growth, or setting it aside hoping it will vanish independently? The Stoics remind us that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can control our response. Epictetus said, "What troubles a person is not the event itself, but his judgment of it." It's our perception of pain that determines whether we view it as a barrier or an opportunity. Pain serves as the soul's alarm clock. It compels us to examine our lives honestly and confront the truths we most fear. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's also the bridge to a stronger, more authentic existence. So the next time life places you in a painful situation, don't flee, accept it, face it directly, ask what it's here to teach you, and allow it to transform you. Because ultimately, those difficult truths that pain delivers are the ones that liberate us, the ones that change us. Are you ready to confront them? 7. Happiness is a choice. Let me share a secret that can completely transform your perception of life. Here it is: happiness isn't random chance, it's not luck, it's a choice. What's your reaction to that idea? Does it sound strange or too optimistic? This isn't merely another inspirational phrase you'd find on a motivational poster, it delves much deeper. Aurelius wrote in his Reflections, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts," and he was absolutely correct. This isn't about denying problems or living in an artificial bubble of optimism, it's about training your mind to focus, to discover goodness even amidst challenges, and to consciously choose where you direct your attention. Consider this analogy: imagine happiness as a compass. Each day, you have the power to determine its direction. If left to chance, it will spin aimlessly, drifting in every direction. But if you take control, you can direct it toward what truly matters, even when the path ahead presents difficulties. That compass, my friend, rests in your hands. But to use it effectively, you must be honest with yourself about your life and your destination. The challenge is that accepting this truth feels intimidating. It's much simpler to believe our happiness depends on circumstances, other people, or external events. Why? Because it removes the weight of responsibility from our shoulders. If we're not responsible, then we're not culpable if things don't proceed well, correct? But here's the harsh reality: as long as you allow others to control your compass, you'll never possess your happiness. You'll live at the mercy of external circumstances, powerless to assume control. Taking responsibility for your happiness isn't easy, but it's the only path to true freedom. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's a superpower. Let me ask you, have you ever felt like you were waiting for someone or something to make you happy? Perhaps you thought a promotion, relationship, or dream vacation would resolve everything. But when it finally arrived, did it genuinely change anything? Maybe it brought momentary joy, but what happened afterward? Everything reverted to the same state. Do you understand why? Because deep down, it was never about those external factors, it was always about how you choose to live each day. For the Stoics, happiness didn't depend on external circumstances, it stemmed from their response choices. Epictetus stated clearly, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle: some things are within our control, and some are not. And what always remains within our control is how we choose to think and act. So how can you choose happiness in your daily life? Here's my approach. I take responsibility, I don't seek excuses or blame others, and I always ask myself, what can I do to change this situation? I also establish priorities. When I feel my internal compass losing direction, I ask, does this truly matter for my happiness, or is it merely noise distracting me? The answer isn't always straightforward, but believe me, the question is worth asking. It helps you make decisions based on what you genuinely value, not what seems easiest in the moment. My friend, it's time to accept it. Happiness isn't a reward life bestows when everything aligns perfectly, it's a daily choice. When you embrace this truth and decide to take control of your compass, something shifts. You stop waiting for others to make you happy and begin constructing a life that truly resonates with your authentic self. So, are you ready to make that choice? Because ultimately, happiness isn't something you discover, it's something you choose. 8. Change is inevitable. What's your response when life takes an unexpected turn? Perhaps it's a change you didn't request, something that completely disrupts your equilibrium. In those moments, do you cling to what was, or do you embrace what's approaching? Here's the truth you must accept: change is inevitable, and the more you resist it, the harder adaptation becomes. Research conducted by Cambridge University exposed participants to simulated scenarios of change, such as job loss or relocation. The researchers analyzed how different individuals managed these situations. The results? Some perceived these changes as threats or catastrophes, while others viewed them as opportunities for improvement. And guess who navigated the situations more effectively? Naturally, those who saw change as a growth opportunity. Not only did they adapt more easily, but they also experienced reduced anxiety and reported greater emotional well-being and satisfaction with their decisions. Change, my friend, resembles a river, constantly moving, never remaining static. If you attempt to halt it, you'll end up exhausted and frustrated. But if you choose to flow with it, you might discover new currents, unexpected landscapes, even territories you never imagined. Remember Takashi Nakamura? He expressed it brilliantly. Be like water, he said. Adapt to your container's shape, empty your mind, become formless. If you place water in a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put it in a bottle, it becomes the bottle. Inspiring, isn't it? It reminds us that embracing change doesn't mean surrendering. It means learning to adapt and transform with your circumstances. Now tell me, how many times have you resisted change out of fear? Perhaps you declined an opportunity because it meant leaving your comfort zone. Maybe you held on to a relationship, job, or location that no longer brought happiness simply because it felt familiar. And what did that resistance yield? Spoiler, nothing but frustration and the weight of unfulfilled potential. The Stoics understood that change isn't something we can control, but it is something we can accept. Aurelius wrote, "Whatever happens, happens as it should, and if you observe carefully, you will find this to be true." This perspective doesn't merely encourage us to accept change, it invites us to seek its purpose, to uncover the lessons enabling our growth. Remember, change isn't the enemy, it's the process allowing us to evolve. Every transformation, regardless of discomfort, represents a new chapter in your life's book. Consider the word crisis. You might perceive it negatively, but do you know its origin? It derives from chrysalis, which signifies metamorphosis, transformation, growth. Think about it, looking back on your life, it's not the constants that define you, it's the changes you embraced and how you allowed them to shape you. So, are you ready to flow like water? Because change, inevitable as it is, can become life's greatest gift if you choose to accept it. 9. Success requires sacrifices. Remember when I discussed responsibility? Well, success operates very similarly. Everyone desires it, dreams of it, idealizes it, but few willingly make the necessary sacrifices to achieve it. We all want the reward, certainly. Who doesn't desire recognition, prosperity, perhaps even fame? But paying the price? That's an entirely different matter, isn't it? Here's the hard truth, success always demands sacrifices. Consider this for a moment, success doesn't materialize spontaneously, it results from difficult decisions. Have you ever seen an iceberg? What your eyes perceive is merely the tip, but beneath the water's surface lies a much larger mass of ice, hidden from view. Success follows the same principle, it means sacrificing sleep hours to work toward your goal. It means declining invitations or distractions that don't bring you closer to your desires. It means accepting moments of exhaustion, doubt, and frustration. It means rising early when nobody's watching and continuing to work when others have already abandoned their efforts. It means sacrificing comfort and ease for something far greater, something that genuinely matters. Success, as the Stoics taught us, doesn't arrive passively. Epictetus reminded us, nothing great is achieved without effort, and the greater the goal, the higher the price you must pay. This teaching captures sacrifice's essence. If you're striving for something meaningful, you must be willing to relinquish what holds you back, what distracts you, and what adds no value to your objective. Think of it this way, success resembles forging a sword. To create something strong and enduring, you must first endure the fire, that heat, that constant hammering, those are the sacrifices. Without them, what you create remains fragile, unable to withstand forthcoming challenges. Now tell me, are you willing to endure the fire to attain what you truly desire? If you're ready to accept this truth, here's a practical approach. First, define what genuinely matters to you. You cannot reach significant goals if your energy scatters across misaligned activities. Ask yourself, does this bring me closer to or further from what I want? Second, create a plan and adhere to it. Consistency bridges sacrifice and success. Third, whenever sacrifices feel overwhelming, Remind yourself why you began and where you aspire to go. Success isn't handed out, it's earned. While the journey may involve numerous sacrifices, it's also filled with satisfaction. The Stoics teach us that true happiness stems from living purposefully and effortfully, not from avoiding challenges. So the next time you question whether it's worthwhile, consider the sword you're forging. Every strike counts. Are you ready to begin? 10. Make failure your friend. What if I told you that failure isn't your enemy but one of your greatest allies? I know it sounds strange, perhaps even absurd. Who desires failure, right? We're all frantically pursuing our goals, so why would failure be beneficial? Here's a truth you need to hear: without failure, there's no success. Don't view it as an obstacle that halts you, but as a teacher that guides you, showing you the lessons necessary for growth. Let me share a personal experience. A few years ago, I initiated a project that inspired tremendous passion. I invested all my energy, made plans, designed strategies, and convinced myself everything would proceed flawlessly. But guess what happened? I failed, and not just minor failure. It was the kind that hits hard, the kind that makes you question everything. I felt devastated, as if all my effort had been wasted. But after reflection, I realized something: that failure was precisely what I needed. It revealed my mistakes, forced me to reconsider my approach, and most importantly, it taught me resilience. How else could I have learned what not to do without trying initially? As Nikola Tesla famously stated, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 approaches that won't work." Tesla, who revolutionized the world, understood that every mistake wasn't an obstacle, it was another step toward success. His story reminds us that failure doesn't define who you are, it defines how willing you are to persist, and that, my friend, is what makes you exceptional. Failure resembles a demanding coach. It tests you, pushes beyond your limits, and while it might knock you down, it does so to help you rise stronger. The Stoics understood this profoundly. Seneca wrote, "The gem cannot be polished without friction, nor man perfected without trials." Every setback contains hidden wisdom if you're willing to search for it. Consider Thomas Edison, who famously made thousands of attempts before successfully creating the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he simply replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This perspective transformed what others saw as repeated failure into a journey of discovery. So how can you make failure your friend? Start by changing your relationship with it. When something doesn't work out, instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" try asking, "What is this teaching me?" This simple shift moves you from victim to student. Remember, failure isn't personal, it's educational. Each time you fall short, you're collecting data about what doesn't work, bringing you one step closer to what does. The most successful people aren't those who never fail, they're those who fail more often, learn quickly, and persist despite setbacks. Next time you face failure, embrace it. Write down what you learned, how you'll approach things differently next time, and what strength this experience has revealed in you. When you reframe failure this way, it transforms from something to fear into something to value. 11. Your mind needs training. Just as your body requires regular exercise to stay healthy, your mind needs consistent training to remain resilient and clear. This truth is often overlooked in our culture, which emphasizes physical fitness while neglecting mental discipline. The Stoics considered the untrained mind our greatest liability. Epictetus wrote, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." He recognized that mental clarity precedes effective action. Your thoughts shape your reality. When left unchecked, the mind generates endless worries, doubts, and distractions. It creates stories about what might go wrong rather than focusing on what's within your control. This mental noise doesn't just affect your happiness, it undermines your ability to act decisively. Training your mind begins with awareness. Notice how often your thoughts drift to unhelpful places, replaying past mistakes, imagining future disasters, or comparing yourself to others. This awareness itself is powerful, allowing you to recognize patterns without being controlled by them. Meditation serves as one of the most effective mental training tools. Even 5 minutes daily of focused attention on your breath can strengthen your ability to direct your thoughts instead of being directed by them. Research from Harvard shows that regular meditation actually changes brain structure, enhancing areas responsible for attention and emotional regulation. Another powerful practice is questioning your thoughts. When anxiety arises, ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it true? What evidence supports it? This simple inquiry often reveals how many of our limiting beliefs lack foundation. The Stoics emphasized rational thinking as the path to freedom. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This understanding, that your response to circumstances matters more than the circumstances themselves, forms the cornerstone of mental resilience. Begin training your mind today. Start small, perhaps with 5 minutes of focused breathing or journaling about your thoughts without judgment. Like physical exercise, consistency matters more than intensity. The dividends of this investment will transform every aspect of your life. 12. Death makes life meaningful. We've reached our final truth, perhaps the most uncomfortable yet most liberating of all: death makes life meaningful. In our culture, we avoid discussing death. We push it away, pretend it doesn't exist, and carry on as if our time were infinite. But the Stoics understood that acknowledging mortality doesn't diminish life, it enriches it. Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day." The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. Consider this: if you knew you had only 1 year left, how would you spend today? What would suddenly become important? What would you stop postponing? The clarity that emerges when we confront our finite existence is profound. Death isn't just inevitable, it's what gives urgency and meaning to our choices. Without it, would we ever act on our deepest values? Would we ever tell people we love them, pursue our passions, or stand up for what matters most? The poet Mary Oliver captured this perfectly when she asked, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" This question gains its power precisely because that life is limited. Accepting death doesn't mean becoming morbid or depressed, quite the opposite. It means living with intention, appreciating what's here now, and releasing trivial concerns that consume so much of our energy. Memento mori, remember that you will die, was a contemplation practice among Stoics. Far from being macabre, it served as a reminder to live fully, to choose wisely, and to value each day as the gift it truly is. So I ask you, how will you use this understanding? Will you continue postponing what matters most? Or will you embrace the profound freedom that comes with recognizing life's impermanence? The final word. We've explored 12 uncomfortable truths together, realities that may challenge you but ultimately liberate you. These aren't pleasant illusions or comforting half-truths, they're the foundation of an authentic, purposeful life. Remember Elena from the beginning of our journey? After confronting the truths she'd been avoiding, she made difficult but necessary changes. She left her prestigious yet unfulfilling career to pursue environmental conservation work. She learned to speak her mind even when her opinions weren't popular. She embraced failure as part of growth. Was it easy? No. Did she face moments of doubt? Absolutely. But in accepting these uncomfortable truths, she found something more valuable than comfort. She found herself. The Stoics teach us that wisdom begins with seeing reality clearly, without the distortions of wishful thinking or fear. As Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Real growth often means challenging conventional wisdom and comfortable illusions. So I ask you, which of these truths resonated most deeply? Which one challenges you to examine your life differently? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's create a community where we can support each other in facing life's deepest realities. Remember, accepting these truths isn't about cynicism or resignation, it's about liberation. When you stop fighting against reality, you can direct your energy toward what truly matters, living with purpose, integrity, and inner peace. The choice, as always, remains yours. Will you continue seeking comfort in pleasant illusions? Or are you ready to embrace the freedom that comes with facing life's deepest truths? I believe in you. The very fact that you've stayed with me through these challenging ideas shows your courage and commitment to growth. Now, take that first step, choose one truth to embrace today, and watch how it transforms your world.